the big thing is not trying to get too far ahead and looking at the big picture of like, how am I going to get here from here? Break it down. How do I get to next week? You know what I mean? Yeah. And focus on that. Focus on the daily habits, the daily things that you can change now to kind of set yourself up for what you're looking to do in your life.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the What You Don't Hear podcast. This is a life podcast. It's a life story podcast. It's what I like to call an open journal dive into people's lives as I sit and I uncover the real story behind my guest journey, finding out what makes them who they are, talking about all the ups, all the downs, and all the thoughts and feelings in between as we dig into the parts of their story that, well, we otherwise wouldn't get to hear. I'm your host. My name is Theisen. I am a creative of many kinds, a maker of many things. I'm an avid gym goer as well, which is fitting for this episode. And also, here's a reminder up front real quick to make sure that you are subscribed to this show on whatever platform that you're checking this out on right here, right now. If you really like the show and you want to make sure you don't miss out on more, you can follow the podcast around social at WYDH Pod. Of course, if you're on YouTube, hit that like button so it tells an algorithm somewhere that this show matters to you and might matter to some other people. You hear these things all the time from every creator of every kind, but it really does help and all adds up more than you may think. The support goes a really long way. And speaking of support, I'm going to tell you about a couple people who support this show, and then we'll dive into this week's conversation, where this week I get to sit down with Todd Johnson, who is the owner of United Strength, a really rad gym located here in Columbus, Ohio. Ever since this gym popped up, it instantly caught my attention. Todd has made not just a really cool gym and community of people, but also for people like me who love aesthetics and branding of things, he's just really nailed that end of things with United here. You'll hear me touch on that in this episode as well. Maybe it's just because I like it so much, maybe because he just branded it yellow, and I clearly have a thing for yellow. I don't know. Who really knows? But either way, of course, we dig in to Todd's story of what got him into the fitness world in general, and then more so, what led him into the entrepreneur world, and how he got the gym started, and a ton more within that, of course. But before we get there, let me thank some people that help me keep the mics on around here. We'll show you some cool things. I'll tell you some cool things that I think you should know about, and then we will dig into the conversation with Todd. So first up, this episode is sponsored by the wonderful and very, very cool brand known as Scatter Joy. So let's talk mental health for a second, because mental health is now more of a prevalent topic of discussion than ever before. However, as awareness increases, so do the associated statistics with it. So while awareness is crucial, it alone does not drive change. And that change is where our new partners in the Scatter Joy enter the picture. So what is it? Well, the Scatter Joy Project is a local organization here in Columbus, Ohio, that transcends the role of a nonprofit. It's more of a movement designed to bridge this gap that people need to get help with their mental well-being. They're fueled by a belief in intentional conversations, raised voices, dismantled barriers, and enhanced accessibility. Its goal is to make mental health care just more affordable for everybody. They're down for the cause and looking to support, among other things. They, of course, sell apparel, with 100% of the profits funding their crisis text line, their own network they've put together to help people find the mental health help that they need, and their very own therapy fund. So whether you're looking to get some help, or you want to donate and help support the cause, or you just want to pick up a piece of their really rad apparel that all goes towards the cause, absolutely look into Scatter Joy. So if you want to find out more about them, you can just go find them on Instagram at The Scatter Joy Project, or you can find them online at thescatterjoyproject.com. All right, if you or someone you know is looking for a place to live, well, you may want to listen to this next part, because this episode is sponsored by River and Rich. Located in the Franklinton Arts District of Columbus, River and Rich is that set of colorful buildings right there on Rich Street, and they want you to know that Franklinton is a real cool place to live. Now, River and Rich brings together quality apartments, desirable amenities, and a vibrant artistic community. They offer 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and townhouse-style apartments, all with open floor plans, oversized windows, and modern finishes. The amenities include a huge 24/7 gym, a heated pool, a fully stocked coffee bar, a secure package delivery room, pretty much everything you'd be looking for in a place to live. And it doesn't just stop at the building, because River and Rich embraces and connects with the art-filled Franklinton community around them, with local art and murals featured all throughout the building and the community itself. River and Rich is both a place to go home to and is also becoming a living piece of art in its own. So if that sort of environment sounds like one that you want to live in, well, you can. So go check it out. They offer both guided and self-guided tours, so you can go check out an apartment anytime. Visit their website at riverandrichcolumbus.com for more information. Also, check this out. Because you listen to this podcast, I might be able to help you get a freaking apartment, you guys, because for right now, new applicants can receive up to half off their security deposit if you use the code WYDH pod when applying. So again, for more information, please contact River and Rich. Certain restrictions might apply. Hop over to riverandrichcolumbus.com to get things going and go join the colorful life over at River and Rich. This episode is also sponsored by PromoWest Productions. Folks, the Columbus theme keeps rolling here in this episode, so if you live in or around Columbus, Ohio, and are interested in catching a live show, getting in that live music experience, then you may want to check out one of these upcoming concerts that are coming your way via PromoWest. They've got Sad Summer Fest returning this year. They're coming back on July 24th at Kemba Live, featuring bands like The Maine and May Day Parade. And guess what? If you want to keep your emo going, the very next day on July 25th, it's Taking Back Sunday at Kemba Live as well. Then on July 28th, it's Still Woozy at Kemba Live. And then Royal Otis at Newport Music Hall on September 9th. So lots of opportunities there to have a flashback to the old emo days there with Sad Summer Fest, Taking Back Sunday. A lot of dope shows coming your way via PromoWest. If you do want to grab tickets to any of those shows, all you got to do is jump over to AXS.com, or, as always, for more information on these or any other upcoming concerts, if you want to find out who's coming to town and when and where, well, then you can find all the info you need over at PromoWestLive.com or by following them at PromoWestLive. All right, a big thanks to all my sponsors for this episode. Go check them out, support them if any of that sounded interesting to you. If you heard something in there, be sure to take a moment, go check it all out. But now it's time to dive into this week's conversation and get to know somebody a whole lot better. And that somebody is Todd Johnson. So let's dive in. Here is episode 112 of What You Don't Hear.
Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Todd, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm very stoked we're getting to do this.
Yeah.
And, we've been trying to plan this for
a little bit, yeah.
Couple months now,
Yeah.
but now we've officially got it aligned. We're here. We're talking. So you are owner of United Strength.
Correct.
New gym here in Columbus, right?
Yep, newer. So I opened that back in 2021, July of 2021.
Okay. So yeah, just a couple years.
About 2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So let's just open up the floodgates at the very beginning. You know where we're gonna go. I want the whole story. Tell me, and we'll dig back further once we get further in. But just let's just kick it off with starting a gym. Is this like very first gym you've ever opened? Or?
No. So I actually opened another gym in 2014 called 11 Athletics.
Okay.
So that was a 20,000 square foot facility. It was like more of an athletic performance facility. So we trained a lot of athletes.
Gotcha. Okay. So then what's the process opening United Strength like? So you had done it before.
Yeah, I'd done it before. So then I had some business partner issues.
Perfect. Okay.
And then got into the whole lawsuit situation. They got a rude awakening to the legal system and how that actually works. And then, I just shifted my focus onto what I needed to do and what I thought I wanted as a gym, you know what I mean? And I shifted, and United Strength is what I have now.
Yeah. So where does interest, because first gym's in 2014. Had you been involved in fitness world before opening the first gym?
So I've been in the fitness world for about 20 years now.
Okay.
So out of college, so I was exercise physiology major in college and sports management. And then I did more like actual PT, so I was more on the hospital side before I shifted over to doing more personal training. So then actually when I moved to Columbus, I started at the JCC, the Jewish Community Center, and was just a personal trainer at the JCC. And then I met my business partner at the time then, and then we shifted and then opened up 11 Athletics in 2014.
Gotcha. So has like the world of fitness and athletics been kind of your world the whole time, like growing up, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, high school, college, the whole shebang. Yep, kind of been doing it for a while.
Okay. So did you grow up here in Ohio?
I'm from Worcester, so about an hour and a half north here.
Okay. So take me back to what's growing up like. Like, is it filled with athletics? Is it filled with all that? Is there entrepreneurial things that you're surrounded by when you're growing up that sort of plants that seed, or was it more so just like the world of athletics is my thing?
Definitely the world of athletics, but for me, it's about people. So my strong suit is just, I want to be working with people. I want to be around people. My thing is just connecting people, community. That's kind of what my passion is. And then a good way to do that is incorporating the fitness side of that, with people as well. Right. So that's why gym just kind of went hand in hand. But yeah, so earlier on, I would say it was more, my dad owned his own business. He was self-employed. Okay. My mom was a teacher. But yeah, I always had a very strong work ethic. I always put 110% into everything that I did, whether it be school, whether it be athletics, so. Yeah.
So did you kind of have a thing growing up in school? Was it like, because like growing up for me, like baseball was like the sport, right? And then everything else outside of that, I was like, whatever. And then once baseball became too competitive, once you're getting into like high school years, I was like, this isn't fun anymore. I want to go play video games and go start creating things.
Right.
Did you have something like that?
So I did soccer and track. Those were my main two sports. But honestly, like once I got to college, I kind of shifted my focus more towards just like health and wellness and more of like the weight training side, bodybuilding, that type of stuff, as opposed to the sports side.
Gotcha. Okay. So, and you said it was like that community helping people element that sort of attracted you to like the more PT side.
Yeah, exactly. Like you mean like physical therapy or like personal training?
Either one, realistically. Just any sort of like one-on-one.
Exactly. I want to be able to help people, and I've always found in life for me, it's about there's more to life than just me, you know what I mean? And that's how I've kind of viewed things. So like for me, I always feel like I need to have some sort of sense of purpose into like what I'm doing. And I always want to make sure that, and I've talked about this more recently because obviously I had a child and just like, and you reevaluate different points in your life, you know what I mean? But for me, one of the biggest things was just having a very purpose-driven outlook on life. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? What am I giving back to the world besides just, putting money in my pocket or doing something like that?
Yeah. Do you remember like when you uncovered like that thought process? Like, and what I mean by like of trying to identify what your purpose could be and really being able to serve that purpose. Because I think it's easy for everyone to, obviously it's like, we know the trajectory. It's like you go to school, you graduate, you're supposed to go to college and you're supposed to get a thing, and then you go get a job in that thing, and that's what you do. And then maybe you can do some stuff on the side that's fun or really giving back, but you are just supposed to fill your pockets and you are supposed to just buy things and have a job.
Right.
And I think it takes people a long time sometimes, if ever, often, to uncover like what you feel like your why is.
Yep.
Do you remember a moment like where you really felt like you uncovered that, or was it just kind of always naturally where you were like, I just like connecting with people, and I guess that's in the fitness world?
Yeah, I think it's more so that I feel like I've always just felt like I just want to be around and connecting with people and just networking and just helping people in general. It doesn't matter like if it's helping them specifically in fitness, like, I want to be able to help you in different aspects of your life too. You know what I mean? Like most of my clients that I have now, like I've had since I started, you know what I mean? So I started training. It's kind of crazy. I've started training like some of my clients that I still have today. They're in their 30s, and I started training them when they're like 16 or 17. You know what I mean?
That's wild.
Which is just wild. You know what I mean? Because you're with them throughout a lot of stages of their life, and they turn into like almost like family.
Yeah. So in those like that transition period of like high school to college, you feel like you were pretty just sure on like, yep, I'm going into the fitness world, we're set. And then take me back to like that moment and then kind of transitioning into
Right.
into working for yourself essentially, or was it like, hey, I was a trainer at a gym first and then kind of work my way in?
Yeah, and so honestly, from the get-go in college, I feel like, well, at least my college, they don't do a good job of actually explaining to you what you're going to actually be doing with your career. You know what I mean? Like outside of college.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's some colleges that do a good job of like, setting you up with internships and different things like that. But I feel like they don't actually explain to you, all right, like now you have a degree in business management. What can you do with that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what are my options, So with mine, I felt like that was like the only course of direction that I could take. But I know that I wanted to work with people. I knew that I was passionate about fitness. So I felt like that really was my only option.
Yeah. So how do you dive into that option? You're
Right.
setting it up of like, we don't really have direction. They're not like, hey guys, here's the next steps that you should
Right.
appropriately do. Like, so walk me through that time frame. Like, is it just like graduate and then, okay, I guess I'm just kind of diving off the cliff here?
Yeah.
Or was there kind of like a plan in place?
No, there wasn't a
or-
plan. There wasn't when I was first out of college, I was doing odds and ends jobs. I mean, I was working for like the Parks and Rec department. You know what I mean? I worked for my old high school. I was the in-school suspension supervisor, and did all like the weight room stuff there, and I helped with like the strength coaching, and stuff like that with like some of the sports teams. But like, yeah, it was odds and ends jobs until I started working in the hospital setting, doing more like physical therapy type stuff.
Okay. And was that just sort of like here's a job opportunity?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
job
dive in,
opportunity, applied, got into it, and then realized that wasn't the direction that I wanted to take. You know what I mean? I was still helping people, but I didn't feel like I was really utilizing my potential. I think my potential was cultivating and building communities, and really like kind of focusing on more of a bigger picture, being able to help as many people as I can, as opposed to one person at a time, you know what I mean, in individual setting.
Yeah. So how long were you in that job then?
I was there for about, I think, 3 years
Okay.
before I moved down here to Columbus and started personal training.
So what's going through your mind like during that time frame? And I'm going to ask this from like this avenue. Like when someone's in a job that sort of a little bit scratches that itch of like what they may feel like their why or their purpose is, or basically in layman's terms, a job you don't hate, right? You can see some sense into it. I think it's easy to, one, get complacent in that and say, this is good enough. And I guess maybe those dreams or those goals, maybe we'll get to them one day, but I should accept this because the world is scary and there's maybe no other option for me, right? And then I also think you also have the other facet of that idea, of that why, of that purpose, of maybe those larger goals, kind of like chipping away at the back of your head over and over and over, almost driving you crazy when you can be in that job.
Right.
Of then it becomes, when can I get out of here? I've got something else to do. During that 3 years, what was that for you? Were you kind of just like, and I don't mean like, oh, were you complacent for 3 years?
Yeah.
Because I have the feeling that you weren't.
Right.
But more so like, what was your state of mind during that time? Was there kind of this longing to like do more, or did that not come until like, you know what, it was 2 months or 2 years and 10 months in before I really was like, wait, I think I should be doing something else. Or like, because 3 years is a long time to kind of feel like you should be doing something else, but still be doing that main thing.
Right.
Like, what was that like for you?
I mean, I enjoyed the time that I was there. I felt like I learned a lot. And that's the thing, like, no matter where I'm at, I always try and make sure that I'm learning as much as I can and experiencing as much as I can in each setting, and then taking that as I transition to the next step that I feel like is the next step in my life, if that makes sense.
Totally.
So at that point, I was just, honestly, I think it was more of the fact that I felt like I wasn't utilizing my potential to what I actually could. In more of a physical therapy setting, you're going to be getting, more of the geriatric population that you're going to be working with, which is fine. That's great. You know what I mean? But like, for me, telling like one of my clients to sit on like the only upper thing, you know what I mean, for like a little bit, and then we're going to go do like some bridges and some stretches, that wasn't really utilizing my, full capabilities.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great job. I was able to learn a lot, and I got more of an aspect of the, healthcare aspect of stuff, the hospital setting, the PT side. So I definitely feel like I still utilize a lot of the things that I learned there, and I transitioned to using them now in my personal training. But at the same time, I wanted to work more with athletes. I wanted to work more with Gen Pop and, just kind of expand what my capabilities are as a trainer.
Yeah. Do you feel, a bit of a left field question, but like, what do you feel like the balance is, like, especially being in like the healthcare world and the actual fitness world? Do you feel like there's a huge imbalance of like preventative care and maintenance on a body rather than everything having to be rehabbed all the time? Like, does that make sense as a question? Like,
yeah.
Do you feel like we're maybe not focusing enough on, hey, how do you do things to prevent our bodies from decaying rather than letting them get there and then constantly just trying to solve problem after problem after problem? Like,
so honestly, I think the biggest issue we face right now is just miseducation. I think with social media and with everything out there right now, there's just so much information that we're bombarded with, hey, well, there's a new study that came out and it's just like, all right, it's saying that you should be doing this or you should be doing this. I think that limits what we're able to do because we have to sift through so much information on really finding out, all right, what's best for me individually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I mean, you're going to find a bunch of fitness influencers out there. And that's unfortunately the problem with our industry is there's no actual governing body that actually like can go in and be like, all right, well, maybe this person actually isn't like qualified to be telling me what I need to be doing for myself. You know what I mean?
Fact checkers or something.
Yeah, there
right?
is that just doesn't exist. So like anybody can, give you a program or something like that and tell you to do it. So I think that's kind of part of the issue, but I do feel like a lot of times people will wait until they have an issue before they address the issue as well. So I think that's also part of the problem too. It needs to be figuring out, all right, what's important for me, and at the end of the day, what should be the most important is your health. Because honestly, if you don't have your health, what do you have? You have nothing. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have your health, you know what I mean? You got nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you could find out that, have cancer or something the next day. And so you really have to focus on, yourself before you can help other people. I feel like that too. You know what I mean? So a lot of times people are so like outwardly focused, like, all right, I need to focus on doing this, this, and this for other people. But until you figure out what you got going on for yourself and like putting yourself first with like your health, you can't really then give 100% to anybody else. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's one of my like favorite recent quotes that I've sort of like latched onto in the last year or so is like, being a bit selfish actually turns into being selfless. Right. Because exactly what you're saying, the more that you can focus on yourself, the better you that you are. Correct. The better you can show up for those around you. The better you can support, have more capacity, whatever it may be. The more clear you are on who you are, what that why is. Right. And especially if you're healthier, you are able to literally show up for people in a better capacity. And I feel like that has been one of my biggest focuses over the last couple of years. I feel like I was in that realm for a while where I was always focused, especially in the creative world.
Oh, yeah,
because,
for sure.
It's like you're using this creative energy. Yeah, you're getting a little bit of fulfillment out of it, each kind of project or client thing you work on. But ultimately, it was like, here's all of my creative energy, and here's a bit to this person, to that person, to that person, to that person, and I hope that they enjoy what I made them. Right. And I'm not even sure if I enjoyed it. Right. And while that's very specific to like, it's just the creative world, and there's a tangible there or a tangible product that was created, ultimately I had to kind of reevaluate, like, and not in a super crazy way, but like I had to reevaluate life in general in that way where I'm like, wait, like all of my energy and capacity has been going to everybody else and hoping that everybody else is happy, which is ultimately a good thing. Yeah. But realistically, if that cup that we're pouring from is running on E and we just got droplets to give to people, it doesn't really matter. You gotta, it's like that has been, and I've probably said that ad nauseum in the last like year on this show. But that filling up that figurative cup has become like big for me in the last few years. And I feel like it's because it is a cliche saying. I think a lot of people overlook it. Right. And like, do you think with the fitness world, the health world, let's even toss like mental health mindset stuff in there. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like because, like you were saying, especially with social media, everything is so oversaturated, so overstated that like sometimes I feel like it takes one person seeing the wrong influencer tell them these things, and then it does the opposite. It makes them not believe in that. Because I'm sure there's some people who I've talked to over the years when I'm like, man, like, restructuring your mind to have a more positive mindset is awesome. It doesn't solve everything, but it's really great. And they're like, yeah, dude, positive mindset. Like, because they probably saw an annoying influencer, for, just to be honest, say something like that. Like, do you feel like that oversaturation of a lot of the stuff you were talking about, whether it's diet culture, fitness, health, mindset stuff, do you feel like that actually maybe, like, I don't know, I guess maybe the question is, do you think it does more good or more bad ultimately? Or do you think it's like 50-50?
Honestly, I think it does more bad because of the fact that there's just, we're just constantly just with social media and the way things have like really evolved. Cause like I'm going on almost 40 now. So I'm in a very unique position to kind of been through the whole gamut of stuff. You know what I mean? I was there pre-internet, you know what I mean? Pre all this stuff. So it is kind of crazy to think about like how much information we just have at our hands in general, and just readily available at all times. But I think that is the problem, that there's just so much information, and like every time that you get fed something different, like, but the issue is I think everybody needs to do their own research and their own stuff themselves. I think that's important. I think we take too much stuff at surface level. Like I might just see something and then believe it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think we all need to kind of like do our own little bit of research and figure out like, all right, what's best for me? You know what I mean? Before we just automatically jump into and being like, all right, yeah, I'm going to take what that person said as, all right, that's fact. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How, like, having that perspective of, because it's like I've got a similar perspective on like life pre-internet, life existing only on the internet, and kind of trying to balance that out of like what's real and what's not, what's worth putting energy into. Where now I'm like, you know what, if I didn't have things to promote, I wouldn't be on social media, I don't think.
Seriously, same.
Even though I do like using it as like a little bit of like a kind of a public journal. I do like sharing thoughts and feelings and, the classic photo dump and stuff like that. But whole other conversation for a whole other time. But being like in the entrepreneur world, in personal training, whatever kind of facet you want to look at it from, what sort of like, how different do you feel like it is now to own and operate a business compared to maybe like when you were starting out?
I would say it's definitely completely shifted. I think it's more, it's easier, I feel like, to operate a business now than back before, because I do feel like there's easier ways to be able to market yourself. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Obviously with social media, you're able to get yourself out there a lot more and able to view a lot. Because back in the day, what would we have? We had maybe emails, that you could send out to people. You had paper flyers, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I feel like as far as a business perspective, it's a lot easier to become an entrepreneur now, your own entrepreneur, and a small business owner now than it was back in the day. So I think that's why a lot of people have kind of shifted towards that, because of the fact that, hey, maybe I could do this. You know what I mean? If I have a decent social media following, or if I really like work to like market and put myself out there, I have a good chance of, creating a successful business.
Yeah.
The following announcement has been paid for by the New World Order.
What You Don't Hear is proud to be partnered with our friends over at Queerencia. Queerencia is an LGBTQ plus lifestyle and apparel brand that aims to support the queer community by empowering all people within it to embrace their true identity and express themselves boldly and proudly, while also at the same time aiming to create more accessibility to queer history and queer culture in general. Now, if you do really want to hear the full story of the brand, I had owner and creator Ty Collier on the show back on episode 70. So if you do want to deep dive into it all, be sure to go check that out. But right now, I urge you to jump over to Queerencia.co to check out all that they do and all their amazing apparel they have available in their shop. You can follow them at Queerencia.co, or again, hop to their site to learn more and make a purchase and support at Queerencia.co, that's .co, and I cannot thank them enough for partnering with this show and being a sponsor of this episode. This episode is also brought to you in part by Makers Social. Now, Makers is located right over in the Franklinton Arts District, right here in Columbus, Ohio, the place where this podcast used to call home. Now, why I'm stoked to have Makers on board as a partner and a sponsor for this episode is, well, it's owned and operated by friend of the show and past guest, Meg Pando, and you can go check out her story, her podcast episode, anytime in the archives. That's back on episode 46. but she is a wonderful person, and Makers is a wonderful place. So, what is it? Well, Maker Social is a DIY craft project bar where you can get your hands messy with some fun projects like woodworking, leatherworking, jewelry making, painting, and more. And while you do all of this, you can drink if you want, because they also have a fully loaded bar with cocktails, local beers, and a very rare bourbon list for you bourbon collectors out there. So what's more fun than getting your craft on with some friends or family, while also maybe getting your drink on as well for a night out. And they also host private group events, such as corporate events for team building and even birthdays. So if you want to check it out, if you want to go book and make a reservation, well, you can just hop over to their website. And if you do book, right now you can type in WYDH into the notes section of your checkout when you make the reservation to get $10 off your project's booking. So head to makerscolumbus.com if you want to check it out, or simply follow them to see what they're all about at makers.social.
So going back, what was that initial process like for you? Like when we last sort of left off, it was leaving the job in healthcare and everything like that.
Yep.
What's that? Is that like sort of a, you know what, I need to do this, let's dive off the cliff?
Yeah.
Or was there like, you know what, I kind of think I kind of almost have a built-in clientele that I could take somewhere? Like what was the next step after that?
So the next step was just jump in. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It really was, because that job was up in near Worcester, and then when I took the job, it was down in Columbus. So there's no transitioning of clients or anything like that. I don't think they want to drive 2 hours to a session, but for some people, for me, they might.
Love it.
Yeah, but so yeah, it was just let's go, let's dive in. You know what I mean? Let's figure this out. I know that's the direction I wanted to take. And at the end of the day, if you're not willing to take risks, like you're not willing to find out like what's on the other end of that risk, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it could be negative. You could fail, but at the end of the day, you could be successful. You could completely alter the rest of your life. Yeah. And that's what it did for me. So
that next phase was that original business partner and then opening up a gym with them, or?
So no, the next phase was I became a personal trainer at the JCC.
Okay.
So I was there for about 5 years. And from there, I, created the relationships, created the connections, and then was able to shift from there to opening the gym, which was pretty much in the same proximity as the JCC.
Nice. Okay. And then how long did that gym last?
So technically, they're still open right now.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So then maybe I'll reframe that as, how long were you a part of?
Yeah. So I was there. So 2014 is when we opened, and then I left right before the pandemic. So I filed the lawsuit in November of 2019. Pandemic happened, and I didn't step foot back in that place after that.
Gotcha. So in the middle of a lawsuit at the time, and a pandemic is setting in, and you're now kind of venturing out on your own.
Right.
Are we still just like leading with confidence at that point in time of like, I know I am on the right I'm going to my own gym. This is what's going to happen. Right. I'm confident. Or was there any part of you that was like, all right, man, this is a lot. Like, I know I can do this, but this is insane. Like, what's going through your head at that point in time?
lot. I mean, all of it was a lot to me. When I opened 11, I was 27, 28. I think I was 28. So opening a small business, then it was 20,000 square feet. I had a business partner, so I felt like I had a little bit of, help, even though at the end of the day, I felt like I did most of the work there.
Right.
And obviously you can see that as the years went on. But yeah, it was a big risk. I didn't know that I wanted to take it. And then even opening up United Strength, it was like, the pandemic just happened. Do I really want to open up another business? You know what I mean? When all this stuff is going on, we don't know how things are going to go. Yeah. Gyms were shut down for a while. You know what I mean? People were like very hesitant on like working out and being close to other people. So this was very much a real thing during when I was going through this process. And I was like almost at the point where maybe I do go back to another gym and just become a personal trainer again and just do that and take the kind of easy way out. But at the end of the day, I knew what I was supposed to do, and I figured out how to make it happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So walk me through the steps of specifically opening United Strength. Like, again, also during a pandemic.
Right.
Like,
Because when I think of that, I'm like, man, I don't know how you find a space and how
Yeah.
you do all that sort of stuff. Like, so walk me through like the story specifically of United Strength.
Yeah, so I had talked to multiple people about, coming on and helping, with the process and stuff like that. But yeah, so we immediately just started looking for spaces. In the beginning, honestly, I was just looking for a small space to be more of like a private training facility where, I might just be training my clients, you know what I mean, for the time being, and just getting a certain amount of equipment just to handle that, and not really doing something bigger where I'm taking on memberships and other trainers and classes and all that stuff. So we started I started looking at commercial buildings to see, hey, what's available. Luckily it was during that time. So I got a little bit of a better deal on, leases and stuff like that. But, I found the space that I'm in now, which is on Cleveland Avenue, right, on Columbus State's campus. And, initially I was like, maybe I only want half of this space and we'll just do like the private training facility thing. But then when I thought about it, I was like, nah, let's do it. Let's take the whole thing. So then we dived into that. And then we just started figuring out the planning process, and then we have to figure out the build out. All right, how do we turn this shell of a building into a gym? And the nice thing about gyms is you pretty much just need an open space. But we had to build out like the bathrooms and the office and all that stuff, and just make it, a functioning space for what I needed it for. But that was pretty much how we got going.
One thing, I feel like you and I have maybe already talked about this before, but one thing that I absolutely love about United Strength is the branding itself.
Yeah.
And that's my world completely. How much of that, like, is that you, like, did you have like the vision for all of that of like, or was there like a team behind it?
No, so pretty much everything you see at the gym is all me. So, which, I mean, I'm a very creative person as well. And that's where I love to, that's the stuff I enjoy doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like, to me, that's not work. Like, I love designing and coming up with ideas and like names and logos and all that type of stuff. So yeah, I pretty much came up with, it goes back to like community. So what is my goal with this gym? You know what I mean? And my goal at the end of the day was to build a community, to actually build a community. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people like talk about like, we're all about community. It's community. You know what I mean? It's a buzzword, but it's like, how do I actually integrate that and actually make it about community and giving back, really kind of helping the people that are not just within the walls, but like in Columbus in general as well too. Mm-hmm. And to me, it's like that just kind of went hand in hand with the name. So it's just United Strengths. Stronger United is what the tag is. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like, I feel like the problem with business in general, across the board, is business is just like, all right, we got to be sharks. You know what I mean? We gotta. It's me against everybody else. But is it? Does it have to be? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because like most of us have like this feeling like when it comes to success, we have this feeling of like you're looking at other people and what they have, and you're like, well, like, why can't I have that? You know what I mean? Or like, I work hard. Why not I able to have the success that somebody else has? And we all have those feelings, feelings of jealousy and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think if we all actually focus on like helping each other grow, my thing for me is if I'm successful, you're successful. That's what I've always said. And I think at the end of the day, if we actually help each other as a community, and like, think about it, like, think of how many small businesses there are here in Columbus. You know what I mean? You're running your own small business here. You know what I mean? I'm running my own small business. There's a lot. If we all actually like work together as a community instead of saw each other as competition, you know what I mean? Where we actually collaborate together and actually like work together, think of how much of a change we could make. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like each and individual business, like, so I have 350 members at my gym. And the cool thing about gyms is, and that's one of the things I love the most, is it's just such a melting pot of people. You know what I mean? It's like, where do you go that you get to see like so many different people and so many different facets? So like, lawyers and big CEO type people, Tim Bezbachenko comes to the gym, who's the GM of the crew. So there's different people like that you just wouldn't get to normally like see on a daily basis that you get to know. You know what I mean? You actually like get to know each of these individuals' lives.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's no better place than a gym to be able to like really like network and build community and stuff like that. So I have so many small business owners that come into my gym. So if I can help each of those individual people get 2, 3, 4 more sales, something like that, you know, why not do that? You know what I mean? Like, it just goes back to, if I'm successful, you're successful.
Yep.
So I think we need to get rid of this competitive idea that we have about like business and just like money and stuff like that. I'm a little bit different. Yeah, I want money. I'd like to have more money. But at the end of the day, that's not what makes me happy. And so if I can help other people attain that, you know what I mean, then I'm definitely going to do that.
Mm-hmm. There's been times over the years where, because money has not been my main focus, I've been like, this is a detriment to me.
Yeah.
Like, this is a detriment that I do want to just help other people grow and build things. And I do love the like community collaboration element of nearly anything where, you know, sometimes that leads you to be too trusting and too believing in someone's idea, right? And then you're like, oh, wait, is this my idea now, or is this your idea? Like, wait, who's doing all the work here? And but it's like, because it comes from a good place, you care so much. Right. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, even on moments of maybe where it could feel like energy was wasted, or it was put into something that maybe it wasn't reciprocated in, or whatever it may be, I still am ultimately like, well, yeah, I mean, it didn't like pop off and turn into an amazing business or whatever, but I mean, I still got to do that, though. I still got to experience that. Right. And even going back to the, rising tides raise all ships idea, I feel like I am always in that state of mind at all times. And I oddly feel like most people lean on the side of things that they're a little more defensive, not always in a negative way. And I don't mean that by when I say, when I tell somebody like, hey, do you want help on that? And they're like, no, get the hell out of here. Like, not defensive in that way, but I feel like there's almost a subconscious block in a lot of people's minds that naturally protects their ideas or their goals because they're personal to us, right? So it's hard to let somebody else in. But it is somewhat strange because I feel like I operate from the place where I am always like, when someone like, sometimes my memory is terrible, but for some reason, the one thing I'll never forget about somebody is if they told me a dream or a goal of theirs. Right. Like I have no idea what I ate for lunch yesterday. Right. But if 6 months ago you told me a business idea that you wanted to have, it stayed in there because I'm like, hey, how's that dream coming along? How's that goal coming along? Right. Because that is what's most prominent in my mind at all times. Like, how can everybody be growing and experiencing life in the way that they want? Right. And hopefully I'm doing the same thing. But I do feel like often a lot of other people subconsciously, they're set a little bit in a defense mode. Again, not even on purpose, I don't think. Right. And it's interesting to see, kind of like you were saying, like the competition over collaboration element. Right. Like, yes, there's always an ebb and flow of everything. Yeah. I'm sure some people listening to this can be like, no, everybody I know is super collaborative. Right. Somebody else could be listening to this and be like, yeah, I met with competition at every turn. Yeah. It's kind of everywhere all the time. Right. But it is interesting because, I do think that a lot of people do kind of naturally operate from that protectiveness of, well, this is my idea and I'd really like help. But I mean, I need my business to succeed. And if I tell you secrets or if I share things with you, then what happens then? And that's also like even the idea of gatekeeping. Right. I'm probably the most secret sharer there can be because when someone's like, hey, how did you do this thing? I'm like, here's the 10 exact steps. Yeah. Because the other thing, like the confident side of me, when it comes to business, creative, whatever it may be, is that I know I don't have to care about gatekeeping any information. Right. Because ultimately, no matter what information I share, you share, someone else shares, that does not mean that person we tell it to is going to go and be able to do that exact same thing step by step. Right. So why not at least lay some groundwork for that person? Because it's ultimately up to them to decide what they do with that information. Right. Right now, you could be like, hey, man, like, so you've been doing this podcast for 4 years, over 100 episodes. You've got sponsorships. You've got all this sort of stuff. It's working. It's cool. How do you do it? There's no part of me. It's just going to be like, I don't know, man. Like, you just got to like make it
figure it out.
Like,
right.
Just figure it out. It's like, I would literally be like, here's every secret I've learned. And here's every single thing that I think could work for somebody else. Right. Because again, like, why withhold that information? Because I want, if you tell me, I've been thinking about starting a podcast at United Strength. Right. I want that to be a very successful podcast
Yeah.
because I love seeing people pursue things and make them successful.
Yeah.
So I 100% agree with the idea of why be competitive about anything?
Yeah.
Why not? Like, I feel like in every aspect, everything can have a team environment to
Right.
it. Like, no matter if it's a one-off conversation where we're talking about one of our new business ideas. Cool. I want that to be a collaborative effort right there, regardless of whether we're working together on the thing or not.
Right.
And do you feel like people are like, it is just a natural sort of almost defense mechanism of like some people maybe want to be protective of their ideas or their like valuable information or something? Or what do you think that is?
Oh, I 100% think that's what it is. I mean, I might not be the right person to ask this, but like I got burned big time, you know what I mean, by literally the same situation where, I mean, it wasn't necessarily ideas and things like that, but you know, I got burned by one of my friends, you know what I mean? Somebody that I opened up a business with. So like you would think that I'd be the opposite, that I'd be closing up. I'd be a lot more defensive and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, that's just not who I am. And the reason why I've gotten to where I've gotten is because of who I am and how I treat other people and how I treat, you know, business and stuff like that. So I think at the end of the day, the people like you and me that are a little bit more like open to not being as competitive and being more collaborative, I think we'll find a way to make it work. You know what I mean? And I think everything does happen for a reason. I've said this before too. You know, like karma, you know what I mean? Like, so, but I do feel like it's a real thing for people to actually get defensive on like certain things that they've worked hard for, you know? And they might not want to share that with people. And you talk to any like major business executives and stuff like that, they're always just like, no, don't tell anybody your ideas and stuff like that. Keep everything close, you know, and don't talk about money, don't talk about this. But I think it's open communication that really kind of helps people understand where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's a hard balance, like being able to actually like trust. You know what I mean? And trust in people that they're not going to, you know, utilize the information that you're giving them to benefit them. But at the same time, it's like, cool. I mean, that's awesome that it benefits you. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm all about just being open and honest and just very open communication with everybody. I think that at the end of the day, that's what's most important. And I think that's what kind of breaks down the barriers with this type of stuff. And that's what makes things transition smoother into building a community and having those connections, and being able to have people feel comfortable with who you are and what you're telling them, and that it is okay for you to open up to me about, you know, what ideas you have, and I can help you with that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's a classic case of like the answer is always no if
Right.
you're not asking, right? Something else you noted that I absolutely do love is the idea of like how gyms are often a melting pot of all these different types of people.
Yeah.
And I think what's cool is in a setting like a gym, no matter who you are or what you do outside of the gym, everyone is kind of brought to an equal level inside of a gym. It's that shared suffering mentality, right? Like we're all getting through this workout together. We're all, even if it's slightly modified for each person, we are doing what is challenging to us. So it doesn't matter if you're a CEO, a creative person, a grocery store clerk, like whatever it is, everyone is kind of brought together, and to be cliche, they are united on one exact same level when it comes. Everyone's equal in the gym. And on that same thing, it's like that has been one of my absolutely favorite parts of entering the fitness world is I feel like the misconception of gyms is, you know, you're walking in, everyone's shredded, huge. It's a bunch of bros everywhere tossing around weight, and you're going to get judged for everything you do. And I'm not to say that there's not gyms that I'm sure that happens at, because human beings are human beings, and humans are everywhere. So that's bound to happen. But that was probably one of my favorite things, and something that was like my immediate go-to whenever someone's asking me about, you know, the fitness world now or joining a gym. Is I'm like, it's not what you think it is. Yeah. Because it is like, and you said it earlier, yes, they're all buzzwords now. It's all marketing terms of community and family. Yeah. But at least, and again, I think you can find this at whichever, you know, you got to find what place works for you. But it's like, just as much as you could sit and be like, yeah, United Strength, I have a gym family at the gym. It's like, I can say that same thing for my gym. And that's what's cool, is that those things are out there.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the misconceptions maybe of what gym culture is, do you think it's getting worse, or do you think it's getting better for things like this where you learn what an actual community is?
Yeah. I think it goes a little bit of both ways. I think it depends on, like you said, like where you go. It depends on like the type of fitness that you do. So like if you tend to be somebody that likes to go to the gym on their own, put your headphones in, just kind of do your own thing, go through the motions, leave, that's it. But I know other people that they're like actually searching that out. They want that connection. They want that network. They want that like family of people that they can like get to know and actually like, grow with, and I think it just depends on like what you're looking for. I think people literally, there's some people that they want to go that route where they just want to put their headphones in. That's their time to focus on themselves, and they're just doing their thing, and that's it. And then there's some people that want to take a class. They want to have that class atmosphere. They want to be pushed a little bit more, and they want to have that community. So I think it's a little bit of both, and it's just people's preference, on what they're looking to do. But I think things are starting to shift more towards getting more involved, having more of a community and things like that. And I also think it's important to do stuff outside of the gym as well too. So, for example, like with United Strength, one of the biggest things for me was, all right, like how do we integrate more community into what we're doing besides just going through the motions of classes, personal training, all the stuff. So how do we do that? So for me, we need to have more events. We need to have more stuff that's just open to the public. Anybody can come to. So, I think that's like what's important. So starting in April, we're going to host an event every month until I think August. So we're always going to have like one event a month where it's open to everybody to come to, where it's just like we're coming together as a community. We're collaborating with other local small businesses, and we're just doing stuff together, and I think that's what's important.
Yeah. And what do those things look like? Are those like pop-up events with like...
So yeah, it could be different stuff. So like, I like to sort of like coincide them with some sort of like charity or something.
Yeah.
So like I've worked with like Scatter Joy in the past, where we do an event, where, all proceeds, will go to Scatter Joy, or we usually always do some sort of a workout. We'll have like pop-ups with like local vendors and stuff like that. We'll do like some yoga, we'll do sound bath. So just like kind of an immersive experience of like just different things. I feel like the last event we also had, my buddy came out and he did flash tattoos, at the gym that was geared towards mental health. And that was for Mental Health Month, actually, when we did that event.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of our events are just like, all right, we're just gonna have a class that's open to everybody. Anybody can come and partake. We'll have a little bit of food. We might have like somebody come and speak. We might have like a chiropractor or a massage therapist, or somebody come and like speak on a specific topic. So that way we have a little bit of learning going on as well. Mm-hmm. So just like kind of leaving it completely open to what we bring in, and just so that we get like everybody involved, and that way people feel welcome, to be a part of the community.
Yeah. So on that community note, you mentioned earlier over 300 members at the gym.
Yeah.
Open during a pandemic. How did it, like, this is going to be such a vague question that you're going to be like, well, man, again, community and well branded or whatever, but like, how did it work during a pandemic? Like, of people, like you said earlier, where, for a while gyms were closed and we couldn't go do that. And maybe people are unsure of, all this sort of stuff. And to launch a new business, a gym, kind of in the midst of when it was a little bit of that weird, like, we're good now,
weird
but we're not. Right. Like, whatever.
And then flare-ups and like...
Yeah, exactly. Of like, hey, maybe we might go back inside for a while.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I mean, how did it work? Like, was it an instant, like, there was just people who were like, this is new, this is cool, this is great, we're in? Was there a period where it's like, I know this is cool, but where are the people, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, what was that like?
So, I mean, in the beginning, obviously it was nice because I did transition a lot of people from my previous gym to my current gym. Obviously the people that, believed in me and, and wanted to be a part of what I was building, so, and I appreciate, all those people that, that helped me and that like kind of supported me through that time. So, and that's what it's for, you know what I mean? That's what the community is for people like that to be able to actually like support and show up for me when I needed them, and they did, so that was phenomenal. So there was a little bit of that, and then there was some ebbs and flows as well too. So like we had people that were just like, I'm just gonna need to cancel my membership for a while, just to kind of like figure out like what's going on with the pandemic and stuff. I'm not really comfortable being around, people in a fitness setting or stuff like that, or people are asking me like, what are your cleaning protocols, things like that. So yeah, it was tough. It was up and down, and it was definitely a struggle, but at the end of the day, like I knew what I wanted to do. I knew what I wanted to accomplish. And I was going to put in the work, you know what I mean? I was going to figure it out, and I did. And now we're on kind of the other end of that. So
Right. Now, I feel like I know the answer to this based off of just the rest of our conversation.
Yeah.
It has kind of been built around self-belief, confidence, taking those leaps. But I still want to ask, like, during that time frame, or whether it's like before launching United Strength or in those first few pandemic months where it's very strange, was there any moment where you were like, I don't know if this is actually going to work?
Yeah.
Like, was there any of that, like, during that kind of ebb and flow period? Or was it
yeah.
like, hey, this was a weird week, but like, nah, we're fine? Like, was there any of those moments where it was like, oh, man, all right, we might be, closing the door? Like, I don't know.
There wasn't any moments where I was just like, we're going to close the door, but there's definitely moments where, I just have self-doubt and I just question, I like, should I be owning a business right now? Like, should I be doing all of this? Is it better for me to be doing something else? So, I mean, I always have struggle. I feel like everybody has their own internal struggles with just self-doubt and, what's important to them. But at the end of the day, for me, it was like, this is it. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket, and, I'm going to ride it out.
Yeah.
So
do you have any, this is a very specific question, but like, do you have any go-tos to kind of get yourself out of that self-doubt funk? Like, cause I know a lot of people, it's like gratitude practices or just, even if it is just, nope, just push through. Like, do you have any go-tos that you feel like you've solidified into like a routine over the years? Or is it just like, that thought of doubt creeps in, but then I also just I reevaluate everything and I see that we're good and I kind of just keep moving.
Yeah, for me, it's self-reflection. It's actually sitting and because I'm a very spur of the moment, like I'll say what I'm thinking or feeling, you know what I mean? But and I internalize a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, I need to actually like sit and figure out, all right, like break things down and be a little bit more methodical about like, all right, what are you actually worried about, and think about like, all right, what are the things that you do have, and showing like that gratitude and for what I do have. So at the end of the day, I think it's more my family and knowing that I have what I have, you know what I mean? And I'm grateful for what I have and transitioning and not letting that affect, you know what I mean? What was ultimately going to come from that.
Right. Taking that moment to actually slow down and like that.
Right.
That I feel like is the thing that a lot of people, a lot of us tend to overlook.
Yeah.
Is like obviously when there's chaos happening, life itself never slows down.
Right. Well, exactly.
Be another problem, another challenge, or on the positive side, another idea, another goal that you're going to add to your list and be like, damn, this thing is like 100 things long now, and I don't even have 2 of them accomplished.
Right.
Like, which then is ultimately, it's even though it comes from a place of dreaming,
right?
It's gonna then just add pressure to your shoulders, where you're like, I haven't accomplished those things. But I do think like I could say the same thing or a similar thing has worked for me over the years of learning to slow down a little bit and say, all right, we've got all of this stuff going on, whether it's a bunch of good stuff that's just become overwhelming, or a bunch of bad stuff that is actually hard.
Right.
Being able to slow down, get a little introspective, self-reflect a little bit, and really evaluate, like you said, kind of what's in my control, what do I have?
Right.
Like there was a quote that I heard a long time ago that is, whatever you think you don't have, you have something else in its place.
Yeah.
And like, that's another thing that ever since I heard, I sort of like tucked that one away where I'm like, all right, if there's something I feel like I don't have, doesn't mean that I don't want it, doesn't mean that I
Right.
can't work for it, but what's the other thing that maybe I'm not showing that gratitude for? What's the other thing that is in that place? Or what's that other thing that actually is a tool that I already have to help me gain that thing that I feel like I'm missing? So all that to say, I agree with like the slow down, the self-reflecting a little bit.
That, and then just also like I talk to people. I talk to like my business mentors and people that have kind of been in the same situation that I have, and have gotten through it, and just get different perspectives from other people. You know what I mean? And really not like being caught up in the moment. Sometimes I get really caught up in the moment and I get very frustrated and very angry. And then I just need to take a second, breathe, slow down, and then all right, like you said, figure out, all right, if this isn't something that I can control right now in the moment or do right now in the moment, then why am I worrying about it? You know what I mean? So it's like at night when I'm in bed, I'll just start like getting an anxiety sometimes, and I can't sleep because I'm thinking about all the things that I need to do. And it's like, all right, do I need to do any of those things right now while I'm sleeping in bed? Probably not. So chill.
Right,
you know what I mean? It's hard, man. It's hard to turn your brain off, and just be able to just relax sometimes, because we're in such a fast-paced culture nowadays where it's just like, it's all about like work as hard as you can, grind, you know what I mean? You'll sleep when you die, you know what I mean? But is that mentality really the mentality we need to have, or are we getting burnt out?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because that whole sleep when you die thing could happen a lot sooner.
Yeah,
than
exactly.
What you think.
If you're not sleeping.
Right. If you're not taking care of yourself now, then that's just going to happen way sooner.
Yeah.
On the subject of even just mental health and stuff in general, like you've mentioned a couple times, like working with Scatterjoy, working with the tattoo that was focused on mental health. Like, do you feel like you put a lot of energy into that realm of things, or?
I think so. I think that mental health and physical health go hand in hand. So I think that's important, and I think that people need to talk about that more, especially I think guys. Because I feel like there tends to be more of a disconnect in like really construing like what we're feeling, you know what I mean? And actually talking about that. I feel like it's getting better. But I still feel like there's a little bit of that disconnect where people just don't communicate how they feel well. And they internalize a lot of stuff, which then can cause issues, and people just don't address those issues. And when you let that stuff just like continue to keep piling up, you know what I mean? It can be very overwhelming, and then it affects the rest of your life. You know what I mean? It affects everything on a day-to-day basis. So I think mental health and physical health go, hand in hand. So I think it's important to incorporate those type of things into the community stuff that I'm doing. But not only that, but just other local charities, other local businesses. Anytime that I can collaborate or work with somebody local and just give back to the Columbus community, that's what I'm going to do.
That physical and mental health balance seems like a thing that maybe one would assume that you could easily relate. But I found a lot of the times when I'm having conversations with people, again, when they're like, hey, I see you're at the gym all the time. What's it like? How's it going? I kind of want to go. I'm intimidated. I don't know. When you get to that benefits part of the conversation, and I kind of say like, hey, I feel like almost the larger benefit that can come from taking care of yourself physically is the mental benefit. Right. Do you feel like a lot of people may kind of disconnect those sometimes?
I think sometimes they do. I think sometimes people are just like, all right, I'm going in, I'm going to put in my time here, and then everything else is separate. But at the end of the day, like that's the stress relief for some people. That's their break in the day. You know what I mean? Like, let's say you're working a long day, and that's like the one time that you have to just kind of like de-stress and, kind of put everything out there for your workout. But like not only that, but it like lowers your blood pressure, like just all the health benefits that come from the physical aspect of it can then internalize to the mental aspect of it. Mm-hmm. So I think it is important that we connect the two as opposed to keeping them separate, you know what I mean? And knowing that they go hand in hand, that one is going to help the other and the other one's going to help the other. It's just, a yin and yang kind of.
Yep. That was one of the immediate things. Is like when I started getting a fitness routine and going to the gym, 5 days out of the week or whatever it may be, like my biggest thing that I feel like I gained throughout that time was self-confidence. Yeah. And it has nothing to do with weight lost and muscle gained and toning up and being able to lift a certain amount of weight or run an amount of time or whatever.
Right.
It doesn't have anything to do with that. It had everything to do with just oh, look at the challenges that I'm giving myself every day.
Right.
Look at what I'm making it through. Look at how much better I got at this. I'm getting better every
Right.
day. I'm progressing. I'm blah, blah, blah. It wasn't from physically looking in the mirror
Right.
or anything like that. It was, there's something to just moving my body
Right.
that is naturally making internally my body just feel better.
Right.
And how that translates to my mind, which
Right.
is now thinking clearer and just feeling more confident in general. And again, that has nothing to do with the outside appearance. It absolutely can for some people. I'm not saying that that's not a connection.
Right.
100% someone's going to lose some weight or gain some muscle or whatever, and they are going to be proud of that. And they're going to be like, this just gave me the confidence boost that I've been looking for. I finally look how I want to look. 100%. But I do think that mental benefit that just sort of naturally comes from moving your body, because I think we're supposed to be moving our bodies.
Yeah.
Like we're
That's kind of what they're meant to do. Yeah.
Yeah, we're
Right.
supposed to be functionally moving them and maybe moving a little bit of weight around and doing some stuff, not sitting in a desk chair with no sunlight for
Exactly.
8 to 12 hours a day or whatever it may be.
Right.
You mentioned, and we've talked about this a bit, but you mentioned earlier kind of taking that leap, right? That self-confidence of you don't know until you try, right? You might fail, but you're going to learn from that failure, hopefully, whatever it is. If right now someone came to you and they were in a similar position to you years ago, when they've got that job that sort of pertains to what they care about, but they're not really loving it, they kind of want to bet on themselves. But let's say they didn't have some of that self-belief that you have. What would you tell that person who wants to take that leap but is really, really worried about doing so? What would you share with them?
So actually, I've been in this situation where literally people are doing that exact same thing. They talk to me about like, all right, this is where I'm at in my life right now. I'm kind of at a crossroads where it's like, I don't love what I'm doing. I don't, get really any joy out of what I'm doing. But it pays the bills. So I think it's hard for people in general to want to take risks because like people just fear the unknown. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like fear can be very crippling for some people, and others not. But what I always do is I always like just really kind of break down and question, all right, what are you afraid of? You know what I mean? Like break down actually like what are the things that you're afraid of happening? You know what I mean? If you were actually to shift and completely shift careers and go a different direction. Like what are those things that you are afraid of besides finances? Because that's usually what it comes down to. At the end of the day, it's just like, I don't know. I'm worried that I'm not going to be able to pay bills, and that's just a significant worry because at the end of the day, you got to have money to live.
Yep.
But, also I think it's important that you just make attainable, like it's breaking it down into, what can I accomplish this week? You know what I mean? What can I accomplish this month? Because I think the big issue is people get so like they look at the big picture, they look too far ahead and they're like, this is very overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's hard for people to kind of to bridge that gap between like the big dream, what they're looking at doing, and the reality, what's going on right now. So I think it's kind of narrowing your focus into making those specific goals that are leading up to what you're trying to accomplish. So it's like, all right, here's what I'm going to accomplish today. Like set yourself up. All right, this is what I'm going to accomplish in today. This is what I'm going to accomplish this week. This is what I'm going to accomplish this month. And it gets you in that mindset of, all right, I'm capable of doing this, you know what I mean? If I put in the effort, if I put in the work, and then that big goal doesn't seem as big when you start breaking things down, people realize that it is a little bit more attainable than what they thought. So I think that's the big thing is not trying to get too far ahead and looking at the big picture of like, all right, how am I going to get here from here? Break it down. How do I get to next week? You know what I mean?
Yep.
And focus on that. Focus on the daily habits, the daily, things that you can change now to kind of set yourself up for what you're looking to do in your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those small things always compound into the larger idea, larger goal that we're looking for.
Right.
Looking back at your entire journey, what do you feel like the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself has been?
For me, it's just getting out of my own way, honestly. For me, I'm very OCD, like very OCD. I'm very like perfectionist. Like I want everything to be perfect. And that's a good thing, but at the end of the day, it can be a bad thing because like I'm not delegating when I should be delegating. You know what I mean? When people are quite capable to do something that I'm doing, you know what I mean? So I think for me, it's just getting out of my own way and really trying to focus on what am I trying to accomplish here? If the goal is just reaching as many people as possible and like really building the community, then I need to not worry about the dirt on the floor or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting this done today or this done tomorrow, you know what I mean? So for me, it's been kind of being able to kind of take a step back and relax a little bit more and not be so uptight about like what am I trying to accomplish?
Yeah. So when we're thinking about those goals, those accomplishments, looking ahead for United Strength, what's some dreams, what's some goals, or maybe some things that are, I don't know, in motion already? Like what's next when you look ahead for United Strength?
So right now, I mean, like we're at a good point. The facility we're about like 4,000 square feet. So we're at a point now where we're needing to expand, or we're needing to look at expansion. And things are fine the way they are. I could sit back and be like, all right, like I can, make ends meet with what I'm doing currently, and just be fine. Why take on more risk? Why do anything else? But I do feel like, I've built something here, and I want to continue to build that, and really focus more on the community aspect of stuff and really grow that community to what I think that it could be. So yeah, I am in the process now of trying to figure out expansion. How do I expand? How do I get a bigger facility? How can I reach more people, and have more community type things? So I am looking into something where it's not just going to be a gym. It's going to be like a social club. It's also going to be, a place where you can come and like recover as well too. So that's the aspect I kind of want to focus more on, as opposed to just like the fitness aspect of it. How do I really encompass a better, full-faceted community, you know what I mean, from a gym perspective? So I am looking into doing something that is going to incorporate some sort of a social club where you have a place where you can go to not only like co-working space, but a place where you can go and just hang out with your friends outside of the gym too, you know what I mean? And just be in just like a safe space where you feel like you can go and just connect with people.
Yeah. So that's on the business side. If I were
Correct.
to ask you, what's on the Todd bucket list? What's a big item? What's a big dream? What's a big goal for you personally?
For me personally, honestly, right now, it's just my number one thing that I've been focusing on right now is family for me. My wife and I just had our first child in May, so she's 10 months old now. So we're right in the thick of things right now. So for me, it's really been trying to focus on balance. How do I balance everything that's going on in my life right now, and give the areas that I need the attention that I need as well too. So for me, it's almost been taking a step back and really focusing on my family and like, what do I see for us and the future that I see for my daughter, you know what I mean, moving forward. And for me, it's been that, and then the business then comes second, so, and that's been hard because before, I mean, obviously it's different when you have a kid as opposed to just, being married. And I felt like, and my wife owns her own business as well too. So we both get it, we're both, self-employed, and we both run our own businesses. So I think we kind of got it, you know what I mean? Like we understood like where each other was coming from. But now that we add, our daughter into the equation, and it's a whole different ball game, man. So like you really got to kind of shift your focus on like, all right, what are my priorities, and what makes me happy, in life, and what am I looking to get out of this life? So I think for me, it's almost been like taking a step back a little bit, So, and looking more at the bigger picture of things and facilitating stuff as opposed to the day-to-day like training. So for me, it's been cutting back on my training a little bit more and focusing on the community, growing the business, and then being with my family.
I love it. Well, dude, I have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And then we're going to wrap this thing up. So I asked the exact same question at the end of every single one of these episodes. So now it's coming to you. So right now, I want you to pretend that everybody everywhere around the world is listening to you speak. So you've got a live mic attached to everybody. You get this one opportunity to share one main thing with everybody. What are you telling them, and what do you really want them to hear?
That's a good question. I really think the one thing that I would tell people would be the fact that, hey, we're all just trying to get ahead in life, all of us. So why not even the playing field? How we even the playing field is by working together. You know what I mean? Like, we're all in this together. We're all going through this life together. And we're all like just trying to, make ends meet. So like, how do we even that playing field? I think the best way for us to even that playing field is do like what I talked about before. Get rid of the competitive aspect of stuff. How do we actually focus on helping each other as a community? Like, think about it. If we go into each city and people did like what had the mindset that we have, where it's like, how do I help make somebody else successful without needing to get anything back in return? I think that's honestly what we need to each focus on as individual cities and really delve into like, hey, if you're successful, I'm successful. And I think that's what I would leave people with.
I love it, man. Dude, this was a blast.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you
loved
so
it, man.
much.
Seriously.
Man. I am very, very stoked that we got to actually hang and make this happen.
Yeah, for sure.
I know the couple times we've chatted before this, I'm like, wow, we got to save all the good stuff for the podcast, right? We can't take too deep of a dive. But I am very appreciative that we finally got to do this. Before we officially tell everybody goodbye, we got to tell them about United Strength. Where can they find it?
Yep.
Where can they find it? All over the internet.
Yep.
Where do you want them to go?
So United Strength is located on 237 Cleveland Avenue. It's actually Naughton. Nationwide turns into Naughton. We're right on the corner there. You can find us on social media as well, at United_Strength, and then also on our website, UnitedStrengthGym.com. And yeah, I mean, we offer free classes. So like, your first class is free. I always recommend come in, try it out, see what we got going on. If it fits, it fits. If it doesn't, it doesn't. You know what I mean? No hard feelings. But I think that I found something here, you know what I mean? And I want to continue to grow that and really focus on bettering, Columbus as a whole. And I think that, together we can do that.